All right. So, right now, Israel is engaged in a war with Hamas, and they are
Yes.
also fighting Hezbollah forces to
Mm.
the north in Lebanon. How do you feel about this whole situation?
I feel like this situation is extremely complex. Like, it's not as simple as one of them is a bad guy and one of them's not. There have been multiple occasions over the last 100 years where people on both sides have done unspeakable things to people on the other sides. And when you look at the death toll, it looks clearly like Israel is destroying Palestinian citizens and Palestinian forces in a way that they themselves are not experiencing losses. However, you look at the inciting incident and you can't say that that's not worth some kind of retaliation. When you look at the way Hamas entered Israel, specifically targeting citizens, specifically attempting terrorism, and that they are the leaders of these groups in these areas. They're not some rogue organization in the same way that like terrorist groups normally are. They are the leading political
Yeah.
figures. They are the government, and so therefore their cities, their territories are accountable for the decisions of their government. In the same way that any country directly attacking the U.S. would be directly responsible. So that to say, there's no there's no villain and there's no hero here. It is complex, and the only attempts that I can even hope for some kind of restoration, some kind of peace, are that one or both, probably both sides, has to say it is more important to us that the fighting stops than that we get recompense for what has happened to us.
Wow. Amazing take. We can add a layer of complexity there that we can talk about with. Are you aware of APAC?
I'm not. Tell me about it.
Okay, so the there is an American Israeli lobby that is funded by the government of Israel.
Okay.
One of the largest lobbies in the United States.
Okay.
Largest donor to Joe Biden,
Oh, wow.
APAC. Largest donor to Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. So they, across party lines, right? How do you see Israeli influence on American politics shaping American policy towards Israel?
That's new information for me, so that's good. I'm liking that I'm being educated. I definitely see both, but like we clearly are kind of heroizing, if that's the word, Israel in this circumstance. We're making them out to be the good guy and Palestine to be the villain. And I see that in our donations of military forces, in our donation, in our training, in all kinds of things that we're doing. And I think that at least originates, I would like to hope that originates from a place of well-intentionedness, especially post World War II, where Israel didn't exist as a nation and we had to create it as the winners of that conflict. I don't know enough about that context and the politics involved, but I would like to think that that came from a place of this people has been displaced, let's give them a place. And a place where they can make their own rules, where they can be safe from outside influence that has been so persecutive in those years. But then you have that grow over time into this relationship, and now there's so much tied up with it that if America was not supporting Israel in the ways that they were wanting, we'd probably lose all kinds of support. And I don't know what that translates to practically. A couple politicians have a couple less $1 million, but like I don't know what that means when it comes to decision making.
It's a really good insight. One of the things we can talk about going forward is where do we go from here? Like, as Americans, how do we view this going forward? Should we be, yes, compassionate towards both sides, but to bring around some sort of end to this conflict? Should we be pushing for one side to end this? Should we be forcing for both to compromise? Should we have an opinion at all? Like,
I think that the everyday American, I don't think that we should be involved militarily. That is my personal opinion on the matter. I think that if you are policing every conflict, you overextend yourself and you end up not making all the right decisions that you could. I do think that we should be influencing the situation to gain peace, because I think peace is more valuable than war. Clearly I think we're experiencing levels of trade reduction in efficiency, of oil prices rising, all kinds of things because of this conflict. And it's not beneficial to us. So I think that we have a vested interest in seeing there be peaceful relations in those countries. In a idealistic, perfect world, I would see that done through like workshops with the leaders, sending trained mediating professionals over to those countries, and being a third party with no hopeful biases, with as few hopeful biases as possible, and trying to bring those leaders to the table in ways that they're not just discussing their disagreements, but discussing their commonalities, and trying to facilitate peace by realizing that neither party can be completely demonized.
We can go into the military and diplomatic sides of this, really, with one of the big things that has just come about. So just recently, within the past 2 weeks, so the United States has about 40,000 soldiers in the Middle East, whether it's Syria, Iraq, Jordan, wherever, about 40,000. They're increasing that number because of the things that are happening around Israel.
Yes.
Do you think that's to promote stability, or is this an escalatory measure?
I would need more information. I really would. In my mind, it's unnecessary. It might be a show of force in some way, shape, or form to be like, knock that off. But
that's another thing we don't know is, so the Army has said, we're sending an increased amount of troops. We're bolstering the troop amount in the region, but we're not going to tell the American public how many. So that's another old thing to this. But and then diplomatic side, very complicated. You have American negotiators trying to negotiate with Qataris in the mediating state of Qatar, with the Hamas officials, and there's so many layers to that. Like you said, it's incredibly complicated. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
I think that too many Americans, myself included, are trying to resolve our cognitive dissonance about this situation by painting things in black and white. And there's too much going on. For the average American, we don't get to say who is right and who is wrong in this situation. It's not like, you can have an opinion, but if you care enough to get out there and picket and make political statements and have arguments, then you need to do so much research before you open your mouth. To the extent that I'm hesitant to even, as I keep saying, I don't have enough information, because I've had several conversations about this, tried to delve into the political history myself, and have realized that I could write thousands of pages of books and still have no idea who is in the right and who is in the wrong. It goes back for millennia. It is not a conflict isolated in this moment.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.